that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. If you all choose to go on the internet and try to publicize this stuff, that's going to create real problems.
Okay.
You can't do it. That's what I'm telling you. You cannot do it. I will have to move to withdraw from the case.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay? If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay? If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cam. Judge Carol Weimer, you are under the microscope. But Judge Carol Weimer, the presiding judge, what we're going to do today is we're going to take you out from under this microscope. And what we're going to do is we're going to put Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Hayward, under this microscope. Now, we want to find out the questions that we're going to be asking in this podcast. Is Mustafa's defense attorney working for Mustafa? Did he strike a deal with the prosecutor or is he working against Mustafa? Did he strike a deal with the prosecutor behind closed doors? And the reason I ask that is because what he's doing in court show that he's not working for Mustafa. But I'm not going to tell you that Mustafa's defense attorney is not working for Mustafa. You, the community, is the deciding factor. What I'm going to do, I have the transcript from inside the court. We're going to read the transcript of what Brad Hayward is doing inside the court. And you, the community, is going to decide whether Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Hayward, is really working for Mustafa. Did this defense attorney get threatened by the police? That he's no longer defending Mustafa, that he's no longer working for Mustafa, that he's in cahoots with this prosecutor. Now, Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Hayward, I have an email that was sent to him by the clerk when he entered and became Mustafa's defense attorney back in February. Let me see if I can find this email. So that way, the question that we're going to be asking is, Brad Hayward, you've been on Mustafa's case since February. You've entered and you became Mustafa's lawyer since February of this year. And the question is, what have you done in the Mustafa Al-Jazari since February? I think that's a fair question. Let's pull up the email. There we go. All right. So I've got an email when Brad Hayward entered and was assigned to Mustafa's case in February 28, 25th. Let's see if we can go to that email. There we go. And this should be on page 968. All right, 968. There we go. All right, so this is an email that was sent to Brad. Let's read the email. Let's make it a little bit bigger so that way you can read it. There we go. All right, good afternoon. This is to Brad. Good afternoon. You have been appointed as counsel for Mustafa Al-Jazari. He is currently being held at Prince William County Adult Detention Center here in Virginia. His next court date is March 19, 2025. Okay, all right. So Mustafa's court date is just around the corner. And Brad Hayward entered Mustafa's case on February 28, 2025. We're in November. What has Brad Hayward done in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? And this is sent by Anthony, Deputy Clerk, Circuit Court Clerk Office, Prince William County, City of Manassas, Manassas Park, Prince William County. Okay, all right. Now that we know Brad has been sitting on Mustafa's case for just about a year now, and court is just around the corner, the question is, what has Brad Hayward done in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? Now, the previous attorney, Blake Weiner, was supposed to reconstruct Mustafa's vehicle, extract the SD card that's in the dash camera that the police department has. The police department has Mustafa's dash camera. And Mustafa's previous defense attorney was supposed to hire an independent expert to reconstruct the vehicle. This is a car accident. You hire an independent expert to reconstruct the whole entire scene, the whole entire vehicle accident. Mustafa's defense attorney didn't hire an independent expert. He didn't hire an independent expert to extract the dash camera. This dash camera is cut and muted by the police department. Evidence showed that the police department has the full dash camera and the audio. Now, that's what Blake Weiner was supposed to do, but he didn't do it. And he sat on Mustafa's case for a whole entire year. And when came close to trial, he said, I'm ready. I'm ready to go to trial. I don't need to reconstruct the vehicle accident. I don't need to extract the dash camera. I don't need to put the home videos, the Google Nest videos on the record. And we told his previous defense attorney, how does that make any sense? You want to take Mustafa to trial without his evidence? That doesn't make any sense. And when we gave him an ultimatum, no, you're going to get the extraction, the reconstruction, the Google Nest video. You're going to go over the hard drive. There's the cell phone dump that the prosecutor, police department did. That lawyer withdrew. He ran away. It's as if he wants to avoid the evidence. And today we have Brad Hayward, Mustafa's defense attorney, who entered this case in February 28, 2025. Now, Judge Carol Weimer ordered this vehicle to be reconstructed in September. There's a judge order to reconstruct the vehicle. So Brad Hayward has a judge order to reconstruct the vehicle. And the government gave Brad Hayward, Mustafa's defense attorney, money to hire an independent expert to go in and reconstruct this vehicle accident. Judge Carol Weimer also gave an order to extract the dash camera that the police department has. Extract the full dash camera with the audio. And the government gave Brad Hayward money for an independent expert to extract the dash camera. Now, that's in September. And Judge Weimer specifically told Brad Hayward, you have to get it done by the end of September. And that's in the transcript. We're in November. Brad Hayward hasn't reconstructed the vehicle accident, didn't reconstruct the vehicle accident, didn't extract the dash camera, and didn't go over exculpatory evidence with Mustafa. What am I talking about? There's a hard drive. The police department downloaded Mustafa's cell phone, his girlfriend's cell phone. She has multiple cell phones. They downloaded all the cell phones onto a hard drive and gave it to Brad Hayward. Now, that's exculpatory evidence. This lawyer has not gone over this exculpatory evidence with Mustafa. 1,000 terabyte of material, of exculpatory evidence, that Brad Hayward is refusing to go over this material with Mustafa. Now, what we're finding out is that Mustafa has a dash camera inside his vehicle. The dash camera has an app on his cell phone. So when the police department downloaded his cell phone, the full dash camera is on his cell phone. So when you download his cell phone, it's on the hard drive. So even though the police department, Officer Chad Mason, cut and muted this dash camera, the original dash camera is on this hard drive. There's a Google Nest video inside the apartment. There's an app. When the police department downloads his cell phones, it's going to download all the videos inside the apartment that shows this is a beautiful relationship. That's on the hard drive. There's an Alexa in the apartment. That's also on the hard drive. So wouldn't it make sense for Brad Hayward to go over this hard drive with Mustafa? As a matter of fact, in a phone call that I had with Brad said he hadn't gone through the hard drive. You're telling me 1 terabyte of hard drive exculpatory evidence? We're in November. Trial is just around the corner. You haven't gone over the most important, crucial piece of evidence in this whole entire case that's going to show that, one, is going to show you the full dash camera, is going to show you the home videos. You haven't gone over the text messages between Mustafa and his girlfriend. The government is telling you that Mustafa crashed the vehicle on purpose because he's mad at his girlfriend. Wait a minute. He's angry at his family. Wouldn't you think the first thing you would do is check the text messages between Mustafa and his girlfriend? But Brad Hayward tells you, I haven't gone through it. His previous lawyer is avoiding to go through it. The previous lawyer is avoiding to go through it. Why are the lawyers terrified to go through this what's on this hard drive that they're so terrified to go through? Well, let's look at a document that tells us what is on this hard drive and why is Brad Hayward, Mustafa's defense attorney, avoiding this hard drive. So that way you don't have to sit here and take my word for it. Now, this is what Blake Weiner told the presiding judge before he withdrew from Mustafa's case. He told Judge Weimer what's on this hard drive. He went into details. All right, let's pull up this transcript. This is a transcript from November 20th, 2024. The data extraction from multiple cell phones of the two individuals in this case who have passed, as well as, I believe, like a third family phone. There might even be a fourth phone. So the Blake Weiner is telling the presiding judge. But it's multiple cell phones, as well as, I believe, all the data. Oh, I'm sorry. Also, one of the cell phones for my clients. And also the data extraction from the dash camera that was part of this case. So the dash camera is on the terabyte that the police department, the prosecutor, gave him. In total, off top of my head, I believe the data extraction, it was a large enough that it needed to at least a 1 terabyte hard drive for the Commonwealth to put in the data. So Mustafa's cell phone has multiple apps for the dash camera, for the home videos, for the Alexa. And when the police department downloaded Mustafa's cell phone on a hard drive, it has Mustafa's dash camera. We have Officer Chad Mason, who said to Judge Carol Weimer that he tampered with the dash camera. In a motion to dismiss, Officer Chad Mason got on the stand and he said that he took the dash camera back to his vehicle, downloaded the files, sat on those files for 2 days. 2 days later, got a warrant for the dash camera. So you sit on the file for 2 days. 2 days later, you get a warrant. What he was supposed to do is take the dash camera to digital forensic. But what he did, he violated the chain of custody. Well, the problem here is today we're sitting on a dash camera that the police department is telling us that it has no audio and it's cut before impact. And there are frames missing from inside the vehicle. Well, this officer is telling you, he took the stand and he told the presiding judge that I took it back to my car. I violated that chain of custody where digital forensic was supposed to copy and mirror the files in this dash camera to protect the integrity of this dash camera. Instead, this officer just took the dash camera, downloaded, sat on it for 2 days. And who uploaded it to the server? Not digital forensic. That officer that violated that chain of custody. So you're looking at a situation, a scenario, where the officer took the dash camera back to his car, downloaded the files, cut and muted this dash camera, and uploaded the edited files into the server. The reason I say that is because when you look through this case, when you look through the case files, you find a document where digital forensic tells you this dash camera does have audio. I'm going to pull up a document where Kathy Zymuth admit that this dash camera does have audio. She put a document in the case file that she inspected this dash camera, and then later took the stand and told the presiding judge that she heard the audio. So wait a minute. You have an officer that says there is no audio, that this dash camera is cut before impact, but digital forensic tells us there is audio. Let's look up the document or Officer Zymuth. So that way you don't sit here and take my word for it. Let's see. It's in here somewhere. And the problem here is Judge Carol Weimer in September ordered that Mustafa's defense attorney hire an independent expert to go in and inspect this dash camera. Brad Hayward hasn't done that yet. The question is why? What is he waiting on? There we go. This is Officer Zymuth.
My name is Katie Zamus. I'm a detective in digital forensics on the Prince William County Police Department.
This officer, I have the transcript where she took the stand and she said Mustafa's dash camera does have audio and that she heard the audio. So why are we sitting here for 2.5 years where the prosecutor is telling us there is no audio?
I'm a detective in digital forensics on the Prince William County Police Department.
See what that says right there? I'll rewind it just a little bit. There we go. There we go. Although the last several videos recorded on the device did not appear to have sound, the sound recorded feature on the device was turned on. So this dash camera audio capability is turned on because you can turn it off, but it's turned on. So it records audio. I opened the file with VLC and the sound did not play. I then opened, why would you open it with VLC when this is a very sophisticated dash camera that you buy out of Best Buy? This is not a Amazon dash camera. This is a $500 dash camera. If you go to your local Best Buy, you'll buy this dash camera for $500. It has an app. This dash camera is manufactured by Rexon. It has a Rexon app. This is a digital forensic that's been with the department for over 10 years. She knows that this dash camera has a specific app. You're going to open it in VLC, okay? I opened the file with VLC and the sound did not play. I then opened the last recorded file on the device with a program called Medal and Info. Why would you open it with VLC, Medal and Info, when this dash camera has an app dedicated for this dash camera? It's called Rexon. I then opened the last recorded file on the device with a program called Medline, which showed that the file did have an audio track. I then opened the file with Audacity, which is a free audio editing program. The track that should have contained sound wave appeared flat. Now, she says here, which showed that the file did have an audio track. When you took the stand in a motion to dismiss, on the record, you told the presiding judge, Judge Carol Weimer, that you heard the audio. So wait a minute. If you heard the audio, clearly you're opening this dash camera in multiple apps that are not compatible with this dash camera. But you took the stand and you said that this dash camera does have audio. And the officer that handled the dash camera, Chad Mason, is telling you, I cut and muted this dash camera. I took it back to my car. I sat on it for 2 days. Got a warrant 2 days later. Well, today we have a dash camera that the police department and the Commonwealth attorney is telling you it has audio. Well, let's inspect the metadata off this SD card. The dash camera has an SD card. And Judge Weimer in September ordered and gave an order that Mustafa's lawyer, Brad Hayward, can go in with an independent expert and hire and go and download the full dash camera. Now, Mustafa's defense attorney, independent expert, is Investa. I've got a document. Let's look at the document where Mustafa's lawyer, the independent expert, is Investa. It's page 916. Let's see. So if we go over to 916, there we go. There we go. All right, so this is Mustafa's lawyer hired an independent expert. And Mustafa's independent expert, the independent expert that was hired, puts in an affidavit. Okay? So let's make this a little bit bigger. All right. And before we read this, the reason that we're reading this is because Mustafa's defense attorney gets a judge order. The government pays him for money for an independent expert. He gets an independent expert. He has a judge order to go in and download and extract the dash camera. An ex parte meeting motion is held. A private meeting. Ex parte means a private meeting. By the way, it's illegal for a judge, Judge Weimer, to hold a ex parte, a private meeting with the prosecutors. Without Mustafa's lawyer, without Mustafa. That's illegal. But they held an ex parte meeting. Let me see if I can find the document.
I have a question about the Act 34.
Brad Hayward. Let's pause that here. Let's pull up the exhibits. There we go. There we go. So we're going to write this down. So ex parte, October 22nd and 24th. So if you see ex parte, so Mustafa's the judge, the presiding judge, holds an ex parte, a private meeting motion with the prosecutor Sarah Sammy and prosecutor Stephanie Buck. After this private meeting, Mustafa's defense attorney takes the money that the government gave him for his independent experts and gives it to the prosecutor's independent experts. How does that make any sense? Even the judge in court, he says, isn't this a conflict of interest? The judge is telling Mustafa's lawyer on their record, and Mustafa's defense attorney says, I'm going to go with the prosecutor, independent experts. I mean, you're going to give the money to the prosecutor who's been protecting a police officer that cut and muted the dash camera for 2.5 years? A prosecutor that her digital forensic tells her this dash camera does have audio, but pretend she doesn't see it? I mean, the documents that we're going over are sealed documents. This is a whole sealed case. Commonwealth Amy Ashworth sealed off the whole case. You can't request the documents. You can't request the body cams. You can't request the dash camera in Mustafa's vehicle. This whole case is sealed. Now, I've managed to get into the server for the police department, evidence.com, and I'm leaking the sealed material. The body cams, the documents, the dash camera in Mustafa's vehicle. So now we can see that digital forensics says this dash camera has audio. But if it wasn't for me leaking this document, you can't verify. You can't know. You wouldn't know what Kathy Zimon's digital forensic is saying about Mustafa's dash camera. How does it make sense? We're asking a question for Brad Hayward, Mustafa's defense attorney. How does it make sense? You want to tell us that you're working for Mustafa? Brad Hayward, you want to say that you're working for Mustafa, but you took the money that the government gave you and gave it to the independent expert of the prosecutor. The same prosecutor that's been lying about this case, that's been using officer that falsified the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, the same prosecutor that's been hiding the dash camera, audio, and the full dash camera. You gave it to her independent experts? And you're not going to assume and think that her independent expert is biased? I mean, if the prosecutor is hiding the full dash camera and the audio, you wouldn't think her independent expert is going to do the same? Obviously, something is going on here. Brad Hayward, 1 minute he wants to go in. All of a sudden, there's a private meeting that's held. All of a sudden, he's doing a whole... He's switched... I mean... He's working for the prosecutor. How do you explain a defense attorney not going with his independent expert, going with the biased independent expert of the prosecutor? How do you explain that? So this is the document of Brad Hayward, independent experts. All right, so let's go over this document. So this is an affidavit for Brad Hayward's independent expert. Affidavit of Felipe Cruz Jr. expert. Let's put it on the screen. There we go. There we go. Come now, the affiliate Felipe Cruz Jr., who after being first duly sworn does depose as state upon oath as follows. All right, and this page, you can find it on page 916. Okay, at one point, we're going to release this whole PDF file. So keep track of those pages, page 916. All right, so page 916, we're going to go to it. There we go. Here we go. All right. So Felipe Cruz Jr. says, I'm a digital forensic examiner. I perform computer, cell phones, and infotainment forensic for Investa Forensics. Okay. Remember that company, Investa, because this company is the Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Hayward, independent expert. After we read this document, I'm going to show you a document where Doug Lacey, the prosecutor's digital forensic independent expert, a document where all of a sudden, after the private motion with the judge and the prosecutor, Mustafa's lawyer is going with the independent expert of the prosecutor, Doug Lacey. All right. All right. I am certified forensic computer examiner, CFCE, and have obtained additional certificate in the examination of computer and mobile devices, including Magna Certificate Forensic Examiner, Celebrate Certificate Premium Operator, CCPO, and Celebrate Certificate Physical Analyst. I have attended over 200 hours of forensic training and have worked in numerous cases involving child sexual abuse, material, CSAM, narcotic, major crime investigation. I have examined hundreds of digital media devices, including cell phone, computer, and infotainment system. Okay, so he's giving you his credential. Investa, remember that name, that company. Remember that name of the company. Investa Forensic utilizes state-of-the-art digital forensic collections procedure, which we have validated in many previous cases. Item 5, when handling digital forensic, our office follows a rigorous procedure in order to prevent the potential destruction of evidence. Number 6, item 6, upon receiving evidence, whether in the lab or on-site, we complete a chain of custody of our own and sign the client's chain of custody. We request the complete chain of custody from the client or document when, where, and who has interacted with the device. Item 7, prior to opening any digital evidence, the package and the photographed to document all signatures and evidence seal after breaking a seal or creating a new opening in the evidence packaging. We photograph the evidence, the document, and any external manufacturer model numbers or serial numbers. Item 6, prior to creating a forensic image, we will connect the USB drive to write block device, forensic Falcon open text. This provides data integrity of the original data. The imaging software application will also verify data integrity by a process called hashing. Item 9, for the info limit system, the system will be photographed prior to acquisition. The forensic application for acquiring this data will also create a hash value of the acquired data to verify authenticity. The method of acquisition will be conducted based upon the make, model, and trim of the vehicle. Item 10, forensic image allows us to analyze the data without working on the original evidence. The collected forensic images will then be transferred to our lab for analysis and review. Should there be any question or need to clarify these steps, please feel free to reach out to me by email. All right, so this is a really important date here. All right, when was this entered? All right, this was entered, let's see. All right, 12th of September. All right, so on the 12th of September, Mustafa's lawyer tells the court, I have an independent expert, okay, from Investa. All right, 12th of September. Keep those dates. All right, 12th of September. All right. We just looked at a private meeting that's held October 22nd. All right. So on October 22nd, 2025 of this year, a private meeting is held by Judge Carol Weimer and the prosecutor. On the 24th, another private meeting is held. And then, all of a sudden, Mustafa's defense attorney puts in a motion where he tells you he no longer wants to go with his independent experts. He wants to give the money that the government gave him, and he wants to go with the prosecutor independent expert. How does that make any sense? The prosecutor that buried the dash camera, the full dash camera, and the audio, you're going to give her that money. The prosecutor that's been lying about the dash camera for 2.5 years, you're going to give her that money. Let's pull up a document where Brad Hayward puts in a motion. And he says that he wants to go with the prosecutor independent expert. All right, so let's see. So 916 is Investa. All right, so Brady order. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, so this document is a motion that Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Hayward, puts in a joint motion with the prosecutor where both Mustafa's defense attorney and the prosecutor are agreeing to go with the prosecutor's independent expert. This is dated when? All right, let's look at the date. This is all right, so this is dated all right, so this document is dated November 6th. All right. So enter this November 6th. All right, so let's read. Let's read the motion. Mustafa Al-Jazari, order in the Circuit Court of Prince William County. Order granting authentication of expert witness funds. So they're using the witness fund. They're using the money that the government gave to Mustafa. This matter came before the court upon the joint motion between Mustafa's lawyer and the prosecutor requesting authorization of expert witness fund in the above captioned case. Upon consideration of the motion, and it appearing to the court that the request is reasonable and necessary for the proper preparation and presentation of the defendant's case, it is hereby ordered that the defendant is permitted to certain expert list below at the court's expense, ordered that Douglas Lacey, all right, so they're no longer going with Investa. Douglas Lacey is the prosecutor's independent expert. That Douglas Lacey is hereby authorized to serve as an expert in the field of media authentication for the purpose of analyzing and attempting to retrieve any available audio data from the dash camera footage relevant to this case, and is further order that Mr. Lacey shall be compensated at the government rate of $245 per hour, or such that the rate as may be deemed reasonable by the court for a time reasonable expended in the performance of his duties as the expert witness, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they're using the prosecutor, independent experts. I remember, and we're going to go over this transcript. In court, Mustafa's defense attorney puts in a Brady motion. And in one of the things that Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Hayward, argued to the judge, Judge Weimer, Carol Weimer, he told the judge that, Your Honor, this dash camera is being cut and muted. Evidence showed that it does have audio. It does have the full dash camera. I need to hire an independent expert. And he went with Investa. And we just looked at a document with Investa, with an affidavit. I remember the prosecutor stood up in court, and we're going to go over the transcript. She says, Your Honor, I need to hire my independent expert. I also want my independent expert to go in. You've been sitting on this dash camera for 2.5 years. Now that Mustafa's defense attorney is hiring an independent expert, you want to have an independent expert to go in also at the same time? And she said, Your Honor, my independent expert is Doug Lacey. That's in the transcript. That's back in September. We're looking at a document in November 6th. Back in September, Brad Hayward wanted Investa. The prosecutor Sarah Sammy wanted Doug. What am I looking at a document in November? Why am I looking at a document in November that Mustafa's defense attorney is taking the funds that the government gave him to hire his independent experts? Instead, he's giving the money to the prosecutor. Because the prosecutor at one point got up and she said, this was, I have to check the date, but I do have the date. This was, let's see. The prosecutor got up and told Judge Carol Weimer in October 27, 25th. October 27, the prosecutor got up in a motion and told Judge Carol Weimer, she told him, Your Honor, we don't have funds for our independent expert, Doug Lacey. So wait a minute. In September, you're telling Judge Weimer that you want your independent expert to go in with Investa. And on October 27, you tell him, I don't have money for my independent experts. And that's when Mustafa's defense attorney says, Your Honor, I'm going to take the money that I have, and instead of hiring Investa, I'm going to give it to the prosecutor and have her hire Doug Lacey to go in and extract the dash camera. And the question here that we're asking, is Brad Hayward working for Mustafa? You're going to take the money that the government gave you for your independent expert. I mean, you just got done arguing that this prosecutor is using police officers that falsified the case. You're arguing that the police department, that they lied about the dash camera. You're arguing about a whole line of things where this prosecutor is using officers that falsified the case. And then you're going to turn around and you're going to give the money to the same prosecutor to hire her independent expert that's biased. I mean, you're going to give it to the prosecutor that's been lying for 2.5 years, that's been hiding this dash camera for 2.5 years. Look, Brad Hayward, you don't have to worry about me telling you that you're not working for Mustafa or you're in cahoots with this prosecutor. You're protecting a police department that falsified the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. The community is the deciding factor. The body cams, the sealed body cams are all over the internet. The discovery, the sealed discovery is all over the internet. The transcript is just got unsealed by the Department of Justice. And this is exactly what we're going to dive into. You don't have to worry about me telling you and calling you out, saying that you work for the prosecutor, that you're covering up for a police department that falsified a whole entire case. The community is the deciding factor. The community gets to see the body cams, the discovery, what you said in court now that the transcript is unsealed. And we're going to get to the bottom of it. I think, to be fair to Brad, let's bring him into this podcast so we can get to know who Brad Hayward is. Because if Brad Hayward, the question is, if Brad Hayward is doing this in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, what else is he doing in our community? I mean, Brad Hayward just opened a new law firm. Brad Hayward has a civil rights organization. Wait a minute. Didn't your client, Mustafa Al-Jazari, get beaten up and abused by guards inside this jail, inside the county cell? In our county jail, we have a CCTV video where Mustafa, your client, Brad Hayward, is beaten up, carried unconscious from one cell into another cell. Half naked, unconscious, where they take him from one cell after they got done beating him up. They take him into another cell, unconscious, half naked. They take him into another cell where they beat him and abuse him. Wait a minute. You have a civil rights organization, Brad Hayward. It's called Justice Forward. Not once did you speak about your client being abused inside this jail facility. Let's bring Brad Hayward into our podcast so that way we get to know who Brad Hayward is, so the community get to know who Brad Hayward is. The next time you need a lawyer in our community, be careful from calling Brad Hayward. Before you hire Brad Hayward, you might want to ask, what is he doing in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? Mustafa Al-Jazari gets in a vehicle accident 2.5 years ago. Mustafa Al-Jazari lost his girlfriend, lost her 5-year-old baby in a car accident. Every detail show that this is a car accident. We have the data from the computer inside the vehicle, and it shows that Mustafa's foot is on the brake the whole entire time. The dash camera showed that Mustafa avoided every vehicle. The steering angle show it's counterclockwise. Wait a minute, 2.5 years ago, for 2.5 years ago, they've been telling us that Mustafa drove into oncoming traffic. And you find out that the steering angle is counterclockwise, away from the vehicles. The police department inspected Mustafa's vehicle and found brake failure. On body cam, they're inspecting Mustafa's vehicle and they found brake failure. So wait a minute, Mustafa's foot is on the brake the whole entire time, but the vehicle would not stop. They tell you that Mustafa is arguing inside the vehicle with his girlfriend. But then they hide the dash camera from you. And then when we finally steal the dash camera and release it, you find out that Mustafa and Dorothy are sharing a cigarette. And the way Dorothy grabs the cigarette while Mustafa gives her the cigarette. She feels Mustafa's fingers as she takes the cigarette. You find out there is no argument inside the vehicle. What they've done is they cut and muted Mustafa's dash camera. What they've done is they crushed and staged Mustafa's vehicle. What they've done is they weaponized children that are 9, 10, 14, and 16 against Mustafa. Brad Hayward, what you're protecting, sir, is a police department that weaponized a 9, a 10, a 14, a 16 against Mustafa. We have Google Nest videos that shows it's a beautiful relationship. They've lied about the whole entire thing. The Google Nest videos that they've been avoiding and attempted to delete. The police department attempted to delete the Google Nest videos inside the apartment. But we've hacked the system and we have the Google Nest videos inside the apartment. That shows it's a beautiful relationship. Before you hire Brad Hayward, you might want to look into what he's doing in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. Because if he's willing to protect the police department in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, oh, you can bet that he will protect the police department and hand you in a silver platter to the police department when you do hire him. I think it's fair to Brad. We're going to bring him in. He's really active on social media. So we're going to bring him in and have him introduce himself. So that way we can get to know who Brad Hayward is. And what we're going to do, what I want to do is go into the transcript, go into the Brady motion that Brad Hayward filed, go into the motion in opposition that prosecutor Sarah Sammy and Stephanie Buck put against the motion that Brad Hayward filed. And then I want to dive into the transcript. So that way you don't have to sit here and take my word for it. We get to read the transcript and we get to hear what Brad Hayward is saying in court. So you get to verify what I'm telling you. You don't have to take my word. And anything that I'm telling you, we can verify it. We have the police body cams. We have the transcript. We have the whole entire discovery. And Brad Hayward, the Department of Justice unsealed the transcripts. I don't think you really thought this through, sir. When you sat there and you thought about protecting the police department, I don't think you really thought this through. You thought this was going to be a walk in the park. Mustafa is now asking that this lawyer withdraw from his case. Obviously, this defense attorney has been sitting on Mustafa's case since February. Mustafa's defense attorney puts in a motion after Mustafa is asking him for the most basic thing that you can ask for. Mustafa asked him, where's the extraction? The judge ordered that you reconstruct my vehicle. The government gave you money for an independent expert. The judge ordered that you extract my dash camera. The government gave you money for an independent expert. This is back in September. We're sitting in November. Mustafa tells his defense attorney, I'm entitled to go through the hard drive that the police department gave you, that the prosecutor gave you. That's my exculpatory evidence. Otherwise, you're violating my due process. I want to go through the hard drive. I want to go through the body cams. Otherwise, you're violating my due process. Mustafa's defense attorney blocks him from going over his exculpatory evidence. That's a violation of Mustafa's due process. All of a sudden, Mustafa's defense attorney wants to withdraw. You're going to withdraw because Mustafa is asking you for the most basic things that you can do in this case? You've been sitting on Mustafa for a whole entire year. Mustafa has been in solitary confinement for over 2.5 years. You showed up in February and you waived Mustafa's speedy trial. Without sitting down with Mustafa, without consulting with Mustafa, without getting permission from Mustafa, you waived his speedy trial. The county has been keeping him in solitary confinement without a trial, and then you show up and you're patching it up for the prosecution. And then when you read the record, you say that you sat down with Mustafa, you consulted with Mustafa, and you got his permission. That's what the records show. But then why am I looking at a letter that Mustafa wrote to Judge Carol Weimer that you never sat down with Mustafa, that you never asked permission for him to waive his speedy trial? You think Mustafa is in solitary confinement. The family is not going to find out that you're just doing whatever you want. You're patching it up for the prosecutor. The county keeps Mustafa in solitary confinement, violates his speedy trial, and then you show up and you waive him without getting Mustafa's permission. And then you keep Mustafa. You don't even pick up his phones. Fast forward from February all the way to September. All of a sudden, you put in a Brady motion. I wonder why you put in a Brady motion. Oh, does it have anything with Mustafa has a giant podcast on YouTube that is releasing body cams and discovery document that show that the county falsified the whole entire case? Does it have anything to do with that? Only to come out, put on a show in a Brady motion that this county is falsifying my client's statement. I mean, that's what he says in the Brady motion. I mean, it sure sounds, it sounds like he put on a show. And the reason I say he put on a show is because when you read the transcript and what this lawyer did in court, when you do a Brady motion, the judge grants you, he either grants you or deny your motion. Well, the judge granted almost all of the things that Brad Hayward was asking for, except for the communication of the prosecutor with the police officers and communication with the witnesses. So he grants him everything, missing body cams. He grants him to extract the dash camera with an independent expert, reconstruct the vehicle, that Mustafa's statements are falsified. There are missing body cams, edited body cams by the police department, that the police department is muting, cutting body. They falsified the whole entire case and they're manipulating the evidence. And Brad Hayward, the judge granted everything for Brad Hayward, only to find out when there's a Brady motion, there's something called an order after the motion. That even though the judge orders the whole thing, there is an order that the prosecutor and the lawyer has to agree on. Explain to me why Mustafa's defense attorney remove pretty much everything. Listen to what I'm telling you. Mustafa's defense attorney is no longer interested in the body cams, the missing body cams, is no longer interested in the materials that will show that this police department falsified a whole entire case. You don't have to take my word for it. That's in the order. So he put on a show. Well, Mustafa asked him about the order. He says, didn't you see me in court? When we ask him about the order, he says, you saw what I did in court. They're expecting that you don't know how court works, that he comes in, he puts on a show, and then in the back, behind closed scenes, there's an order where he agreed on not pursuing anything. Now, what we're going to do on the next podcast, we're going to go through the motion that Brad Hayward filed for the Brady motion and what he accused the police department with. We're going to go over the motion that prosecutor Sarah Sammy and Stephanie Buck put in opposition. And then we're going to dive into the transcript. And then we'll read the order of how he didn't pursue any of it. And the question is this a defense attorney coming in to the Mustafa Al-Jazari case to patch up this case and put on a show for the community that's slowly finding out that the police department falsified the whole entire case? And that's what we're finding out. We're finding out that Brad Hayward is doing a patch-up job for the police department in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. Now, this is nothing personal. This is all based on the transcript that were and the motions and what he's doing in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. And the ball is in Brad Hayward's park. He can show this community that, hey, I'm not in cahoots with the police department. Show us that you're not in cahoots with the police department. Everything showed that you are working for the police department. Everything showed that you're working against Mustafa. Did you not give the money to the independent expert of the prosecutor? Yeah, you did. Did you not withdraw everything that is going to uncover that this police department falsified the whole entire case? Yeah, in an order you withdrew what you said in the Brady motion. Did you sit down with Mustafa and go over the hard drive? No, you're keeping Mustafa in the dark. Because apparently that hard drive has Mustafa's dash camera, has the Google Nest videos, and has the Alexa in the apartment. And it has a lot of material that will show that this prosecutor has been lying about this case for 2.5 years. Did you reconstruct the vehicle in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? What are you waiting for? You have the money. You have the independent experts. The judge gave you the order back in September. We're in November. The trial is just around the corner. The trial is in March. What are you waiting on? Did you come out with the audio and the full dash camera? You have the money. Oh, that's right. You took the money. You gave it to the prosecutor's independent expert. Did you not tell Mustafa to fuck off when Mustafa is asking you for the most basic thing he can ask for in his case? Which is the extraction, the reconstruction, the exculpatory evidence, the hard drive. We're going to continue to monitor what you do in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, Brad Hayward. And like I said, you don't have to worry about me or my opinion. The community is the deciding factor. We're just simply reading the transcript and what you said in court. We have the body cams, the so-called sealed body cams that we've leaked on the internet. We have the discovery. And now we have the transcripts. So it makes it a very transparent case. And if anything that we accomplish in this whole entire podcast that we're doing on the internet is that we've managed to have transparency in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. In a case where Commonwealth attorney sealed off the whole file, and she's telling you, the community, that you, the community, should just take the government word for it. Well, now you can verify what the government is telling you. And you get to verify that the police department falsified a whole entire case. And we're looking in real time where the county brings in a lawyer who pretends to have a civil rights organization, and you practice only to patch up the case for the police department. We're going to continue to monitor what this lawyer does. And in the motion to withdraw, because this lawyer wanted to run away. Apparently, it sounds like he got threatened by the police department. Because Mustafa asked him for basic things in his case. He wanted the extraction for the dash camera, the reconstruction of the vehicle, accident, and he wanted to go over his hard drive and the body cam, the police body cams. That's exculpatory evidence. All of a sudden, this defense attorney in court, he says, my client is innocent. This is the, he puts in a motion where he wanted to withdraw. Motion to withdraw. There we go. This is what Mustafa's defense attorney is telling the court. All right, so it's not coming up, but we'll post it. So basically what Mustafa's defense attorney, he puts in a motion, and he says, my client is innocent. And the police department has a bias, and they botched up a whole entire case. That's what Brad Hayward says. And then he wants to withdraw. Were you threatened by the police department? That's a really good question. Mustafa says on the record, I refuse that my lawyer withdraws from my case. I don't want this lawyer to withdraw. I do not want this lawyer to withdraw. Mustafa tells Judge Carol Weimer, I do not want my lawyer to withdraw from my case. If he wanted to withdraw, he should have withdrew back in February. But I'm sitting in solitary confinement. I've been waiting on this lawyer. He says, Your Honor, you put in an order to reconstruct the vehicle, and the government gave my lawyer money. Where is it? That's a fair question. Where is the reconstruction? That's what Mustafa is asking. He said, Your Honor, you put in an order to extract the dash camera. The government gave my lawyer money for an independent expert. Where is the extraction? Where's my dash camera? He tells Judge Weimer, Your Honor, I'm entitled to go through my exculpatory evidence. Otherwise, it's a violation of my due process. My lawyer is telling me I'm not allowed to go through my exculpatory evidence. Why is the lawyer keeping me in the dark? I mean, is that not a violation of my due process? So, we're going to continue to monitor what Brad Hayward does in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. We're going to bring in Brad Hayward just so that we get to know who Brad Hayward is. So when we're talking about this lawyer, the next time you want a lawyer or want to hire a Brad Hayward and you want to hire a lawyer and you come across a Brad Hayward, you might want to ask Brad Hayward, what are you doing in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? Before you hire him and have him do what he's doing to Mustafa, have him do that to you. Because if he can falsify, if he can protect the police department, if he can attempt and want to protect the police department who falsified the Mustafa Al-Jazari case, what's going to prevent Brad Hayward from doing that to you? Let's bring in Brad Hayward and have Brad Hayward tell us a little bit about himself.
Events go better when they're a dialogue, but great. Thank you very much for having me. It's a real honor to be here. So as everyone was saying, my name is Brad Hayward. So I currently only have one job. So this is a new development for me. For the past 5 or 6 years, I've had really 2 full-time jobs as both the chief public defender for Arlington County and the city of Falls Church, and also the executive director for Justice Forward Virginia, which is a criminal justice reform advocacy group. I say I don't have the second full-time job anymore because I'm now a board member. We hired another executive director. So a little bit of a burden off of me, which has been refreshing. But of course, what do they say? Water always finds its level. So somebody who is a workaholic like me on these issues, I'm making myself busy regardless. But I just wanted to initially, there was a question about my background. I thought I would share that with you first. And also I just mentioned, I don't want to drone on here. I know you all probably have many questions about criminal justice reform locally, statewide, nationally. I'm happy at any point to stop and answer those questions. I often find that these sorts of events go better when they're a dialogue. But just to kick things off and let you know how I ended up where I am today. So I actually grew up, I was born in Michigan, but grew up in Northern Virginia. So I grew up in Great Falls. I went to Langley High School. Then I went off to University of Michigan. That's where my family is from. And a lot of us went to University of Michigan. Went there and I started thinking about my career. I knew I wanted to help people for a living. I actually had wanted to be a doctor when I was in undergrad. Then I checked my transcripts in my junior year, and I saw that I was really, really bad at science classes. And then it also dawned on me, I don't know, it hadn't dawned on me earlier, but it also dawned on me that I really hated them. And that's a pretty bad combination for a doctor when you both hate the thing you're going to be doing and you're really bad at it. So then I looked at like the other portions of my transcript, like philosophy classes and things like that. I'm like, oh, I'm really good at this. Like I barely even tried in those philosophy classes. I did real well. So I was kind of stubborn, but I pivoted towards becoming interested in the law. And actually, I think kids these days, I notice from like being a hiring manager for interns, I've noticed that kids these days they learn way more when they're in high school about future and like career plans and stuff. When I was growing up, I didn't know anything. I frankly didn't even know a lawyer could do good in the world. That sounds ridiculous, but until I was 20, 21 years old, I just thought lawyers were people who, whatever, they had a bad reputation for honesty and they cost a lot of money.
Bad reputation and they lack honesty. Interesting. What do we have here, Brad? What are you doing in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? The community. You don't have to worry about me. I'm not saying anything. The community is the deciding factor in what you are doing in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. Let's continue listening to Brad.
So forth and so on. But I just had some life experiences which obviously helped me grow up and learn how you can make a difference as an attorney. So I started applying to law school. I took a year or 2 years off after undergrad, and I started applying to law school. Eventually I got to law school, and I treated law school as a process of trial and error, determining where I would fit in the best in the legal field. And my criteria were basically, what am I going to be? What am I good at? Like, where my talents lie? What do I really care about? And what am I going to be able to do every day for the next 15, 20 years? And
blah, 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 blah. He's going to go on and tell you about how he's changing legislations, how he's fighting for this community, how he has a civil rights organization called Justice Forward. And if I didn't know any better, Brad, your civil rights organization, you should change its name to Justice Backward. What have you done for your client? You're sitting on a giant case where the police department falsified a whole entire case. What have you done? You haven't reconstructed the vehicle. You haven't extracted the dash camera. Instead, you gave the money to the prosecutor, who's been hiding the dash camera for 2.5 years. Evidence show that the police department weaponized a 9, a 10, a 14. And what do you do in the order? After you put on a show telling the judge, Your Honor, evidence showed that they weaponized the children against Mustafa. I mean, in a forensic interview, the child is talking about that the police department is telling him that Mustafa ran away, left their baby sister, their 5-year-old baby sister, to bleed to death. And we, the police, could have saved that baby sister, your baby sister, but Mustafa ran away. Why would you tell that to a 9, a 10, a 14, a 16? Mustafa was in a coma. You're weaponizing the children before you're walking them into a forensic interview. And Brad Hayward is telling Judge Carol Weimer that the police did that only to make a deal with the prosecutor behind closed doors where he doesn't need the body cam that show the police department weaponized the children. Are you not covering up for the police department? I have the order. I have the order where you don't want the body cam that's going to show the police department whipping out the children. We're going to continue to monitor Brad Hayward. Brad Hayward, you might want to reach out to me and give me a call. I mean, we're going to continue to put you under the microscope. And if you thought this was a walk in the park where you're going to show up and put on a show in front of the family, put on a show in front of Mustafa, put on a show in front of the community, that you're fighting for Mustafa, but behind closed doors, you're patching up a case for the police department. That's not going to work. I don't think you really thought this through. The body cams that are sealed by the county is now all over the internet, are leaked all over the internet. The discovery is leaked all over the internet. The transcript and what you say in court, it just got unsealed by the Department of Justice. So this is not a walk in the park, sir. You're going to ruin your own career. Anybody that's thinking about hiring you in this community is going to ask, what have you done in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case? I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, heck, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's see. Let's go on YouTube. Let's exit this out. And let's type Brad Hayward. And let's see what comes up. Brad Hayward. Do you know what comes up? Do you know what comes up? I come up. I come up. Do you know what that means? The next time anybody looks you up, Brad Hayward, I come up. And what I say about you come up. And what you're doing in the Mustafa Al-Jazari comes up. I mean, look. It's me, more me. I mean, all that money that you spend on, and then you. And then you. And then you right there.
Law school.
I mean, all that money that you're spending on advertising your law firm, I come up. And what I say about you comes up. Do you know how big of a problem that is for you? Did you really think this was going to be a walk in the park? What I'm trying to tell you, you might think twice before you cover up for the police department. That's all I'm saying. I'm giving you advice. And I'm not doing anything. This is not personal. I'm just simply reading your transcript. What you said in court. I mean, if you think that me simply reporting on what you're doing in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case is an attack, that's a problem. I mean, you might want to really sit down and think about what's going on here. This is a high-profile case. Just because the media outlet hasn't reported on it yet doesn't mean that it's not going to be reported on. Body cams are hitting the internet, sealed body cams. A giant leak where it shows the police department falsified a whole entire case. What, you're going to try to stop every media outlet that reports on what Mustafa's lawyer is doing in the Mustafa case? How does that make any sense? I'm not attacking you. I'm simply reporting and telling this community what you, Brad Hayward, is doing in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. And it shows that you're patching up a case for the police department. Prove me wrong. You have a media outlet. You have a social media. You're on Twitter. You're active on Twitter. You're on Facebook. You're on YouTube. Well, not anymore. I come up when you type Brad Hayward, but you get the point. Where is Mustafa's reconstruction? That's what we're asking. We're not attacking you. This media outlet, this podcast is asking you the hard question. The minute you come out with the reconstruction of vehicle, the minute you come out with the reconstruction of the vehicle is going to show that the prosecutor have lied about the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. Is that why you're hiding it? Are you not protecting the police department? The minute you come out with the audio of the dash camera, it's going to show that the police department lied in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. Are you not protecting the police department by taking the money and giving it to the independent expert of the prosecutor that's been lying about this case for two and a half years? You tell me. What's going on here, Bradley? We're going to continue to report on the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. This is not another boring podcast. I want to thank everybody for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button and share the podcast. This is not another boring podcast. Leave us questions. If you have any questions, leave me questions, and I'm going to go over them in the next podcast. Thank you for being here. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cams. Judge Carol Weimer, I want to put you under this microscope. You know, when you have slides and you have like these different kind of slides. But unfortunately, Judge Weimer, welcome back for you. We're not going to permanently remove you from under the microscope. We're just going to temporarily put you to the side until Brad Hayward. We're going to put Brad Hayward under this microscope. Imagine a microscope, and we're going to put Brad Hayward on a slide under this microscope until Brad Hayward gets his act together. Until it starts making sense, because it's not making sense. What you're doing in the Mustafa Al-Jazari is not making any sense. And it shows that you're patching up a case for the police department, protecting a police department. Thank you for being here. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa, through the police body cams. Brad Hayward, you are under the microscope.
If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay? If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. If you all choose to go on the internet and try to publicize this stuff, that's going to create real problems.
Okay.
You can't do it, is what I'm telling you. You cannot do it. I will have to move to withdraw from the case.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay.